Hello and welcome to another edition of Sri's Sunday New York Times Read Along. Our guest this week is Rajesh Vetcha, an India-based journalist, executive, and marathon runner. Our host, of course, is Sri Srinivasan. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and our Digimentors website. Please like, comment, share, do all the things you do on social media to make sure people find this show. Particularly for the folks watching on replay, I want to give a quick shout out. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the show on replay. We know that a number of people watch afterwards. So if you are watching on replay, please leave a comment and let us know, and we'll make sure to come back and say hi. If you tag us, it'll make it even easier. If you're watching on Facebook in particular, make sure you press play on the video. You might be seeing it in your timeline, and if you press comments, we won't be able to put it on the show. We have a number of folks who are saying hi already. Our friend Shashi is joining from Potomac, Maryland, in the Washington, D.C. area. Shashi, thank you so much for joining us. Patricia Freudenberg is joining us on Facebook, saying, offering greetings. They're also saying hi on YouTube as well. I know oftentimes when I like to watch a show, I like to put it on YouTube and put it up on the TV at home if I'm not commenting, etc. Gunther is watching from Austria. Gunther, thank you so much for helping to make this an international show. We always appreciate that. Jonathan is watching from the East Village. Jonathan, always a good morning to you. And from Hastings on Hudson, New York. Hi, Mom. Good to see you. Thanks for watching. Always appreciate your support. And thank you for watching. As always, Doug is watching from the San Francisco Bay Area at 5:30 a.m. Pacific time. We always like to point that out. And Doug is a longtime radio hand, not an old radio hand, a longtime radio hand. So he's used to being up early, but he is a good friend of the show, and we really appreciate the support. Before I bring up Sri, our friend Ken is watching from Iowa as well. Ken, thank you so much for joining us. And now our host, Sri Srinivasan. Sri, good morning. How are you today?
Hi, Neil.
Oh, you gotta mute the, there we go. We've muted your computer. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Neil. Great to see you. You said I was looking more athletic than normal because I'm wearing this shirt. I will explain. It's the Hyderabad Marathon shirt, and I'll explain what this is about in a little bit. Our guest is wearing the same shirt, and our guest is not remote from somewhere else. You heard in the introduction that Rajesh is from India, but he is actually not in India today. He's here at my table. So you're going to meet him in just a few moments. So I'm just delighted to have Rajesh Vetcha with us, and you will meet him just a minute. I was up late, Neil, yesterday,
Yes,
because I was at the Karuna Charities 31 years of service, the gala last night. And Rupa, my wife, was the keynote speaker. We were celebrating 31 years of this amazing organization that my mom co-founded in 1993, 1 year before the Saja founding, which I was involved in. And I wanted to show you that this was a lovely picture of my mom that they used. Our friend Preston shot this in our apartment. And then some of our other dear friends, aunties, who have passed on in the last 2 years. And we also had run an ad for Digimentors in the brochure. So we have that here, and it talks about Digimentors, our company, right here. So you haven't seen this yet, Neil, so I wanted to show you that. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This is the New York Times Read Along. We do this every Sunday, 8:30 to 10 a.m. For almost 9 years. We've been reading the Sunday newspaper out loud. The New York Times, sometimes other newspapers as we travel. Neil went to Toronto and read the Toronto Globe and Mail, and we've gone to Washington, D.C. Neil, that was amazing. We went to the home of the deputy editor of the Washington Post to read the Washington Post,
Yeah.
which was a lot of fun. And we do this because we want to fight misinformation, disinformation, and all the issues that are plaguing us, but we also want to support newspapers. This is not about the New York Times. This is about news and accurate information. Subscribe to any newspaper. We would be thrilled if you did that. So your local newspaper, yeah.
For folks who may not know Sri, and I just want to mention, of course, that event last night was honoring your mom, who passed away a little more than a year ago now, January of 23. It would have been, if I'm not mistaken, right? Just after the New Year's. So again, I wanted to offer, especially coming after last night's event, again. I'm sure that would have brought up a lot for you. So our condolences again. And, it's so special to have that charity that she started, and to have Rupa keynote. It's just incredible.
Thank you. And because you said all that, I'm going to show you a preview of my newsletter that's coming up. It's about lessons from helping host the Nobel Peace Conference, the JLF California, North Carolina, and the Chief AI Officer Summit, which we worked on. And it would have been my mom's 75th birthday on October 2nd. So just this week, she was so proud to share it with Mahatma Gandhi. So what I'm showing you here is a preview of my newsletter, and you can see her in Tokyo with me. Neil, I've changed a little bit since that photo was taken in Tokyo, where I was born. I went to see the statue of Mahatma Gandhi in Union Square Park. And I know you've seen that, and everybody who's come to New York should go see that. So I went to see that statue, and I put this. So this is the image that's going to be in the newsletter. So everyone, please subscribe, srinet.substack.com, srinet.substack.com. And if you're already a subscriber, please read it when it comes out this afternoon. And by the way, the two great souls, of course, my mom and Mahatma Gandhi. And for those not familiar, the word Mahatma means great soul. And that's, I often meet people, Neil, who think that was his first name, but it wasn't.
Of course.
That's honorific that was given to him. We have so many great people.
This caption is two great souls and Sri.
Yeah, it says with. So that's clear there. We have great people watching. We're so grateful for this community that comes together for us all the time. Here is Ron Thomas watching from Dubai, heading to Bahrain. And I know Rajesh has probably been to both countries. And Ellen says, how proud you must be, Sri. Congrats. Yes, I'm so proud of what my mom did for all of us. And Pradnya is watching from Springfield, Maryland. Thank you, Pradnya, a former guest on this show. And what we do on this show is we read the paper and we chat about it. And we will do that just now. But before we do that, I want to make sure we can tell you a little bit about our sponsor and our supporters, because we wouldn't have a show without that. We need to pay the bills. And so we want to start by thanking our sponsor, Muckrack. If you're in comms, you know how valuable Muckrack is. If you're a journalist, you know it's a way to get a verified profile without paying Mr. Elon Musk. You get a verified profile on Muckrack, very useful. So check them out. And if you'd like to sponsor us, Sri@digimentors.org. .group, and Neil at digimentors.group. Digimentors is our company that does podcasts, video shows like this. If you'd like one, please let us know. We would love to work with you. We also do training and event amplification, AI workshops, policy strategy. You just email us and we will explain what we do, and we'd love to talk to you about it. And speaking of my workshops, these are my non-scary guide to email to AI workshops. I used to do email workshops. I used to look like that. Neil, you can see I used to have hair at one point. I think I met Neil after I lost most of my hair, and computers used to look like that. And that's us teaching the workshop for the very first time at the Southern Poverty Law Center, one of our great clients. We want to tell you about some events coming up. Saja's 30th anniversary is Saja at 30, 3 decades of South Asians changing media. That's October 11th and 12th here in New York City. If you can get here, please do. We're going to have a Friday evening reception with Somini Sengupta and Peter Bhatia at Icon Contemporary. That's Friday night. Saturday, all-day conference at the Newmark School, and then in the evening, a gala awards dinner with Ali Velshi of MSNBC as our wonderful headliner. So please check out the conference at saja.org. Another event that's coming up is South Asian Stand Up for Kamala, a night of laughs and comedy for Kamala Harris. Join South Asians across comedy to win in November. And you can see some huge names here: Kumail Nanjiani, Padma Lakshmi, Liza Koshy, Aparna Nancherla, so many great people, Maulik Pancholi. They're all coming together to help elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And you can get early access for tickets by going to this link, bit.ly/South Asians Laugh 2024. bit.ly South Asians Laugh 2024, or just email me and I'll send you the link. Tickets are, this will all be on Zoom, and tickets are as inexpensive as $47 to support Kamala Harris. So please let us know. This is coming up Tuesday, October 15th, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and it'll be a great virtual event. Neil is helping to produce the show, and Neil does so much more than these shows. He also does a very meaningful show every month, twice a month, Shining Light on Shadows, a candid conversation about mental health. And they just spoke to Claire, who talked about the highs and lows of managing bipolar disorder. So please check that out when you can, and you'll find that on Neil's social media. We also want to let you know who our next guest is, even before you've met our first guest. And next week, October 13th, morning after Saja, we have Subodh Chandra. He's the lawyer who filed a lawsuit against Trump and Vance on behalf of the Haitian immigrant community in Springfield, Ohio. We're going to make some news that day. Please check that show out. Just tune in on the same channels you're there now. We have a lot to talk about. Yeah, Neil.
Of course, I was going to say, for folks who may be living under a rock, this is all about they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. It's a laugh line for some people, but it's caused major problems in Springfield, Ohio. I am so proud of Subodh, a longtime friend of both of ours, for the civil rights work he's done and for bringing this lawsuit against Trump and Vance.
Yes, very important that he's doing this, and we're grateful to him for joining us. And so everyone, just tell your friends to join us. By the way, tag your friends right now. Where are you watching from? Tell me how your Sunday is going. We'll bring your comments in as we read the news together. We have so much ground to cover. I am thrilled to have with us Rajesh Vetcha, who you'll meet in a moment. But here, just to look at the headlines for today before we read the paper with him. The campaign seek any edge to sway a toss-up election. With 30 days to go, Harris and Trump are digging in for trench warfare. And this image here is praying in the, let's see, let me try to read this here. Praying in Marbel Church in Anaya, a Maronite Christian village in the mountains north of Beirut in Lebanon. It's war, and it's not just theirs. Nuclear plans divide villages on Polish coast, and then churches near Dallas abound. So do their pastors' scandals, and rainbows and drag save a bruising sport in an old mill town. So all very interesting headlines. And then here, after Helene, hundreds remain missing. And that's about the storm that hit North Carolina and affected so many people, and our best wishes for the survivors and their family members. I will say that Donald Trump and Elon Musk have lied repeatedly about what's happening in North Carolina, in Georgia, Florida, about the aid getting to them. The Republican governors of these states have repeatedly said, we've gotten all the help that we need. We need more help, but we've gotten what we need so far. And they've said that repeatedly. But Donald Trump and Elon Musk have gone out of their way to spread lies about this. And so weaponizing even the pain and hurt of people who might vote for them, might not vote for them, is something that that Donald Trump is not above. I mean, there's nothing he is not above, right? Doing. And in the background, you can hear the rustling of the newspapers. I love that because that means it's the Sunday New York Times read along and a rare in-person guest that I have who you will meet in just a moment. So let's put up our card and tell you all about our guest who is joining us. Our guest is Rajesh Vetcha. He's an India-based journalist, executive, and marathon runner. He has done so much to help people understand not just what's happening in the marathon world and running world, but also all the changes happening in India in terms of the changes in the economy and so much more. And he'll tell you his story in just a minute. You can find him on LinkedIn. He's Rajesh Vetcha. Just find him there and do connect with him. We're grateful that he's joining us all the way from India. He's here for a few days. So let's say hi to Rajesh.
Hi, Sri.
Hi, Rajesh. Great to have you here. People will be confused. So this is, let me maybe give you a wide shot like that. And then you can see, this is how we're sitting. There's my computer and there's the newspaper. So we're going to try to make this all work. Rajesh, thank you for being here with us. Tell me what brings you to New York?
Yeah, that's a nice question. I know I've been here quite a few times. I've lost track of the number of times, but it's the first visit after COVID that I've come to US. As I mentioned to you earlier, that I've taken a sabbatical from a corporate thing, and I'm kind of doing my PhD as a doctoral candidate now. So part of the work coming here was to do with meeting up people in the area of my work. I'm doing this thing of regulatory space, especially with aviation and infrastructure, and also to catch up with some old friends like you. Of course, Saja was also one of the Saja. The 30th year was something kind of came in around this period, and I'm also kind of meeting. I'm also kind of meeting a few people related to my professional world also, which I was involved in the past.
Okay, well, this is great to have you back here. You haven't been since the pandemic, so I'm glad you're here, and we've been friends for decades now. Tell people why we're wearing matching shirts.
Yeah, I just went for a jog in Central Park and came. It's one of the places which I have to always visit when I come in here. And yeah, we just got done with the marathon back at home, the Hyderabad NMDC Hyderabad Marathon, powered by IDFC First Bank, and that's my Apple sponsor. So I just thought, I should give it to you so that you start running. If not now, at least very soon.
Running marathons.
No,
what I do is, so as some of our viewers know, I went to Machu Picchu with my family. I was kind of dragged to Machu Picchu. A non-hiking family went to Machu Picchu and went hiking in the Andes, and I barely survived that, and I was not happy. But I used the exhaustion, out of shapeness that I experienced there to come back and say, let me at least work on my exercise. So my daughter put me on what's called 75 Hard, which is a program that you go to the gym every day. You eat less, red meat. You eat fewer desserts, etc. And how it works, Rajesh, is you're supposed to, if you miss a day, you have to start from the beginning.
Oh my God.
I didn't do that. I've done my 70. Today's my 75th day, so it's 75 out of probably like 90 days or so.
You look fitter. You look fitter then.
Thank you. It's we have to take care of our health. We have to move more. You don't have to do what Rajesh is doing, running marathons. Just moving helps and getting your steps in. And so Rajesh has always been an inspiration, how he has focused on his health. Even when he goes to cities for meetings, he's out running, as he has been here as well. Let's see who else is watching. Diana is watching from the Bay Area. Diana, it's so early in the morning, and there you are with us. We appreciate you very much. And we want to hear where you're watching from, what you're doing right now on a Sunday. And if you're watching later, tell us that also as well. And Doug Levy, who's watching from the Bay Area, he's also up at before 6 a.m. He says, I started long distance running when my editor at USA Today would tell me and other reporters to go for a run so that she could edit our stories without being in her way. That's really clever. Get your reporters out of the office when you're looking at the story. So this is also in the days before we were all so hyper connected. And Rajesh has a background as a journalist and studied in some fabulous, fascinating places. So Rajesh, tell us your story, where you're from, your family, and then your educational journey and your work journey.
Yeah, thanks, Sri. Thanks. It's interesting what Diana told about running and.
It was Doug, yeah.
Sorry, Doug.
Yeah.
Sorry, Doug. Yeah, it's interesting that the importance of active lifestyle. We've all evolved by being active, and somewhere it looks like the modern day life, and it's everything is automation, automobiles. Everything is about that. So somewhere it seemed to have lost our origins of our evolution, and a lot of modern day health issues and challenges come as a result of that. So for me, more than running is the importance of being active in whatever you do. It can be yoga, cycling, swimming, anything. As long as you're active, that's a great idea to be. Yeah. Thanks, Sri. So I I originally hail from a place known as Vijayanagaram, which is in the northern part of Andhra Pradesh state in province in India. But I was born in Madras. I would like to use the word Madras rather than Chennai because for me it's Madras. And I grew up there. I went to schools there in Wellington, and I did my schooling also in Madras at 11th and 12th. And my graduation was in Madras Christian College, quite an old college, set up with the Scottish missionaries.
My uncle studied there. It's a great, great school.
Right.
He was roommates with Ajit Nainan, who you know is a
Cartoonist.
very famous cartoonist. Yeah.
That's right. Then I went to my post-graduation at the University of Hyderabad, both undergrad and postgraduate in political science. So I started my career as a journalist, same time like when she was also writing, but I was writing for the Economic Times. And those are the first times I think probably we kind of connected and long back. And then I went to UK and to originally plan for a PhD, but I discontinued at that point of time, and I ended up doing a course in corporate finance, MBA in the University of Hull. And I started working there in the area of public-private partnerships to begin with. And I had an opportunity back at Madras, and I thought it's homecoming, and I came back, and I was involved in development of infrastructure projects in the area of energy, highways, and aviation for the last 25 years. So I had done projects across multiple states in Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Telangana, Gujarat, Delhi, Karnataka. So I had been associated with projects from concept to commissioning, which included airports and every other thing. So I had also a brief stint in banking with ING Bank for a couple of years. But otherwise, I was always in this space, managing large projects. I had a small stints with sports, as you're aware. When I was at GMR Group, I had been associated with Delhi Daredevils and a few more cricket teams, and also the kabaddi team. So I was involved there.
So you've been doing so many interesting things. Let's see if we can give people some context. We're sitting together. That's Rajesh Vetcha. I'm Sri Srinivasan. This is the Sunday New York Times Read Along. And we met in so many different contexts, but one of the contexts was through GMR Group and the airports in India. The amazing airport in Delhi, Hyderabad, and now there's one in Goa as well. And I had the honor of doing some workshops for your team, meeting them, getting to know the leadership. And in India, one of the things that might surprise people compared to in the US, many more of the biggest companies are family run.
That's right.
And so it's a different kind of attitude that you see in corporations. They're still publicly listed, but they're
family run.
Yeah. So that's a kind of interesting change. And of course, India has changed so much along the way. And I remember once you brought me to do a workshop for the GMR Group, and it was at the airport, at the Delhi airport, and there was a hotel, the Andaz Hotel in Delhi at the airport, and I said I'd like to stay there, and you said, do you want a runway facing room? And I said no, because it'd be so noisy. I mean, it'd be cool, but it'd be so noisy. And in fact, it was so much bulletproof glass that I couldn't hear a single thing. It was one of the most wonderful rooms that I had stayed in. And it tells you something about India and how it's changed. That GMR airport in Delhi has won so many awards, right?
That's right.
Including awards for the best airport at the 40 million passenger mark, and
Right.
then GMR just won an award for its for being named one of the most trusted companies in the world in infrastructure and all of that. And so to be associated with a company like that on your behalf, and then you brought me in was really nice. And now you've taken a sabbatical and you're studying your PhD. So
That's
at
right.
what point do we get to call you Dr. Vetcha?
Oh yeah, I'm currently in the process of writing my thesis down, and hopefully would like to finish in the next 4 to 5 months. And
Oh, 4 to 5 months. Normally you hear 4 to 5 years. So,
no, I've finished my coursework and everything. I've completed.
so you're all but dissertation. Is that correct?
I would say so.
Okay.
More or less.
I have some. So for those of you who haven't, aren't in the world of the of academics, there's a phrase ABD, all but dissertation, meaning you finished all your coursework. I had a friend who was very slow, so he would say, "I'm ABD, all but dissertation," and so he would talk about that. And hi, Neil.
I need to jump in here, Sri, as the spouse of an academic. Pam got her PhD from the University of Washington. The thing you don't ask academics or people in grad school is, when are you going to finish
When are you
your
finishing?
PhD? Rajesh, you've done incredible work. Congratulations on getting this far. Whenever you finish, will be great. No pressure.
No pressure.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Neil. I know it's not pressure, but then thanks for it.
No, it's the same thing with authors, right? You never
Right.
ask an author, when is your book coming out? When is your book coming out? It's not good. Ron says, same in Dubai. Family-owned businesses are the primary model in Dubai. That might maybe something we could just talk about. Why is that India has so much family-owned business compared to in the US? Well, of course, we have family-owned businesses, but the way my analysis, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is that in the US, we hear about family businesses in the context of, say, the Sulzbergers, who own, in fact, the New York Times. We hear about it in the Rockefellers and other folks. But and then, of course, the Murdochs, who are in fight for succession. But at the moment, the way I picture it is that most American companies are much newer than a lot of these older companies in India. And therefore, the patriarchs are still there, but they have kind of passed on their companies, or something has changed. It's a different model from India. So whatever you can share would be interesting. And
yeah, see, it's like this. They are family owned and they're family run.
Mm-hmm.
So in America, many businesses are family owned but professionally run,
Mm-hmm.
or through a trust or a board or whatever it is. So that's how many of the companies in America, while they continue to be family owned, but they're professionally run and things. In India, it's family owned, family runs it. So you do have professionals supporting them, but they are hands on. So that's the major difference I would see here between America and India. I mean, I don't know what would happen. Like the example of Microsoft, it's still family owned, but it's professionally run. Or I don't know what's going to happen with companies like, Tesla and others. It'll be interesting to watch there. But in India, family owned, family run. It can be the Ambanis, Adanis, GMR, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not about the first generation patriarchs running it. They have the children in it. Sometimes they have the daughters, sons.
Mm-hmm.
They have even sometimes their extended families, or brothers, sisters. So it can get sometimes very, very deep in terms of things. So that's a major difference, I would say.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
And then comes the question of professionals in thing. In America, probably they have it very different. In India, invariably the professionals end up reporting to the family members in the various capacities, or the board run, which is again family owned.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the critical thing. So I would say the family owned companies in India are family run, and they're hands on because of the challenges of doing business in India too. It's not easy for a professional to take high risk calls in an economy like India, which has got challenges with regulation, the ease of doing business, the multiple aspects of it. And I think it's only the entrepreneurs who can take that call, the risk, the call to how much risk they can take it. It can be done only with the entrepreneurs in India. So that's the major difference.
That's fascinating. By the way, Shashi says, only after the pandemic, I realized the importance of outside activity. I now walk 5 miles a day regularly. So well done. Good job there, Shashi. We appreciate that. For those of you just joining us, Rajesh is, among other things, a marathon runner. He's in great shape. And we were talking about the value of running, and just outside activity is really important. And Paula Kiger is watching, longtime producer of the show. Thank you, Paula, for being here. And Rose is also watching. Check out her hashtag women to follow and her own shows. And Diana says, a challenge that many women face is we have limits that most men don't regarding exercise. I can't just jog or walk anywhere I go. It isn't safe. Also, after having children, I was always on point for childcare, so there was no relief for me to just exercise except if it involved my kids. I tried to make it a priority, but failed. My kids are getting older now, so I look forward to having capacity to incorporating my health back into my life. Well said, Diana. And these are some blind spots that any of us can have, and we appreciate what you shared with us. That's really, really important. We have folks watching from around the world. Jump in and please say hello and what you're doing. Sujana says, could this be the difference in the two ways which companies are run? Is there more upward mobility in the U.S., and therefore could that be for small businesses can grow? That's what she's thinking about. And Kaveri says, blowing away the cobwebs is a cliche, but that's exactly what being outdoors does. She's a Kaveri, by the way, Kaveri Madhavan is a wonderful Irish Indian author who was a guest on this show just a few weeks ago, and she's watching from Ireland right now. And she says that it's really important to go outside and blow the cobwebs out of your head.
Yes. Our life was all outdoors, and just somewhere, slowly it just became a thing that is indoors, and it's just not indoors. Now it become very sedentary too. And now all your problems come out, and the only thing people keep suggesting is go out, walk, go out, get fresh air, go out, sort out your vitamin D, and there's so many things. Primarily, the fact that we were outdoor beings and now become indoor, sedentary people. It's important to get back to outdoors. It's so good. It's just not out the cobwebs, fresh air. You get to see the nature. People don't really have lost the connect with nature. That's what I would think so.
Yeah. So let me just say hi to everybody again. You can see the computer that you normally see me from, and there you see Rajesh. That's Rajesh Vetcha. I'm Sri Srinivasan. We're going to read the New York Times in just a few minutes. He's a longtime journalist, communications professional who has been a dear friend, and he's in New York. So we're seeing each other after the pandemic, and we're just delighted that he can be with us. And when we talk about the news, one of the things I want to highlight today is how Indian newspapers and media works, and how they work, and also how the U.S. media works and what's happening here, and we'll talk about that. But again, if you missed why we're wearing the same T-shirts, he helped found and run the Hyderabad NDMC marathon, NMDC marathon, and so he's wearing that shirt. Explain what the shirt is. You can see a road.
Interesting. You can see a road. The guy who designed is very interesting. His name is Neil Foley. He was the guy who was in-house designer for Titan. So his concept was, there's a road which just goes an endless road, and so he felt like every marathon is a star. So these are stars which use the local Hyderabad motif from the Islamic things. So these are stars and people going on the road, and so that's how this entire T-shirt was done. So Neil Foley of Neil Foley Designs, very interesting. Is won probably 39 awards, international awards in design. Wow. He did this for us, and he designed a medal also this time.
That's great.
And interesting. So this is the connect to that.
And so when is the Hyderabad Marathon?
Usually it's held on the last Sunday of August. This year was the 13th edition. Except in 2020 due to COVID, we have managed to hold it every year.
Yeah, and you brought me in to do a workshop on how to promote social media for runners.
That's right.
And I had so much fun meeting your great group of people.
Thanks,
we did it on Zoom.
In fact, our entire report is we will probably be sending you in time based on your inputs as to what we did, and you and Neil can evaluate and tell us.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And speaking of Hyderabad, this is a book you brought me. So tell me about this book. It's called Beyond Biryani, which is what Hyderabad is famous for, the making of a globalized Hyderabad by Dinesh C. Sharma.
Yeah.
So why did you bring it to me? And I should also point out, we have lots of friends from Pakistan who watch, and they point out that there is another Hyderabad, in Pakistan, in Sindh. And so they object when we, as who are Indian American and Indians, just presume everybody is talking about one Hyderabad, just as there are two Vijayanagars, there are two Hyderabaads, but obviously
you
the
have
one
two
in
Londons.
yeah, of course. Or there's a Delhi in the U.S. There's a Madras in Salem and all of that. But in this case, that Hyderabad is also a beautiful place. But obviously, this Hyderabad is globalized in a much different way, industrialized in a different way. And I just learned that they're going to soon have direct flights from Hyderabad to the US. Right now, only Mumbai and Delhi have direct flights to the US. So once that happens, that's going to make even bigger. And people might be surprised to learn that the US consulate in that part of India was first in Hyderabad and not in Bangalore. Even though Bangalore gets so much fame for being Silicon Valley of India, Hyderabad, where there is also called Cyberabad, is actually where the consulate is. So do you know why they chose Hyderabad?
Oh, it's interesting, actually. Amongst the southern states, probably after Tamil Nadu, it was maximum number of people, Telugu people living here. So then the chief minister of then erstwhile state of Andhra Pradesh, and now it's Telangana, actually lobbied hard and felt like, the number of people, Telugu people working abroad, people going from, under the visiting families and relatives, he kind of pitched that Hyderabad was the best place where the consulate could be set up. And he took a lot of proactive steps to get the consulate there. And the foundation he had done, it was finally started in 2008 when the then Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Rajesh Vetcha, was there. And it continues to be one of the leading visa issuing centers worldwide. The number of things.
So why'd you bring me this book?
Oh yeah, I'm from Hyderabad, so it is important. So it's interesting that Hyderabad is known for many things, primarily biryani, which is one of the most popular dishes in India. And they say the Hyderabadi biryani is one of the best. Unfortunately, I'm a vegetarian, so I won't be able to comment on it.
But you do eat the vegetarian biryanis. Last night at the Karuna event, this Karuna event, we had a vegetarian biryani.
I had a vegetarian biryani, but all my non-vegetarian friends tell me that
you're missing something.
They say that, what do you mean vegetarian biryani? So I really don't know about it. I can't. So this is a very interesting book, which is kind of come out. And this talks a lot of things what is not known about Hyderabad for many people, Apart from IT, Hyderabad is also the seed capital of India. So large seed industry. And then there are a lot of things, very interesting things. I know how many of you know that malaria was first discovered in Hyderabad by Sir Ronald Ross. So it covers that, and that led to a series of things. It also talks about how the pharma industry took up shape in Hyderabad, which was primarily due to the quality of good air, which is required for pharmaceutical production, the bulk drugs. It talks about India's first vernacular university. It was the English and Foreign Languages University. And a lot of interesting things. A maximum defense research is done there. And so if people were to know, everybody knew that recently a lot of the vaccination during the pandemic came in from Hyderabad, which was done by Bharat Biotech. That was very, very important. So this book talks about what is there beyond biryani, which is famous, the research, science, discoveries, and all that. So it's a very nice, well-written book, putting Hyderabad and its other things in perspectives. Apart from the cultural history and the rich history of 400 years of Hyderabad, ever since it was founded by the Qutub Shahis and then by the Asaf Jais, and now we have the modern day period.
What I found fascinating about Hyderabad is that mix of Islamic, Hindu, and other cultures all in one place, the British. So talk about that a little bit, please.
Yeah, Hyderabad is very interesting. The location of Hyderabad is a very nice sweet spot. For the North Indians, they feel it's north, and for South Indians, they feel it's south. So it's just a very good meeting point of both culture, language, religion, and so many things which have happened. Amongst many other things, I don't know if you're aware that the Nizam of Hyderabad is being considered to be the richest man in history if they evaluate his wealth, what he owned in 1911 to the current day. So it was one of the biggest kingdoms in then the former British period, and after independence, it became part of India, and so that's the connection. So it's got a lot of interesting perspectives of how they evolved and what it is, the development of science, education, so many interesting. Like for example, the Usmania University, which was set up. So the Nizam felt like he wanted a very good university. So they went on a 1.5 year trip to all universities worldwide, including US, Europe, Egypt, and they looked and they came back and suggested that that's how Usmania University was set up back in close to 100 years back.
And that's a great, great university.
That's right.
So we're going to be reading the New York Times with Rajesh in just a moment. But Anil mentioned watching the show on YouTube. So if you, Rajesh, if you look here, you can see that this is what the YouTube looks like. This is what you look like on YouTube. And you can see there's a delay because here I am talking to you. If you turn around and just wave, you'll see you're still talking there about something else. So it's about a few seconds delay. But this is a good way to watch this show, so you don't have to be on your phone or on your computer. Just go to YouTube, look for StreeNet, and you can put up. You can also watch our archives and lots of our other shows. We do the Sundays 8:30 to 10 a.m. Eastern time, and we do this because we want to talk about all things news. We're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and Digimentors. Rajesh is very proud not to be on any social media. He is a man who connects with people in real life and on phone calls. He will just call you and talk to you instead of just using only just trying to do everything online. And Rajesh is on LinkedIn, so you can find him there. And he says he's going to do more LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, thanks to because of you, I came on to LinkedIn. I was there on LinkedIn back in 2004, and it just went off some time back.
Right.
Because of too many calls for job interviews and all that.
Yeah,
I just went off.
Exactly.
And I think again, after getting out in the corporate job, I decided to get on.
Yeah. So before we move to the paper, tell me, you've been, what I love about you, Rajesh, is that your network is very important to you. Your connections, you keep in touch with people. What are some lessons that people who are kind of shy about that, who don't understand the value of networking and keeping connected, making friends, just talk about that a little bit. Even though you're far away, you connect with everybody.
Yeah, actually, it's quite interesting. Somebody told me once, very interesting. PR was about personal relations and not public relations. So that's the first perspective. So I just enjoyed doing this by virtue of, having been all over. If I were to reflect on myself, you've had education, you've had family, you've had work, but I would give a lot of credit to me meeting people who were not any part of this, talking to them, seeing them, experiencing various things. Actually, that's made me a better, truly global outlook, I would say, rather than sitting and reading books and probably education things like that. That's the first thing. And it's interesting, whenever I've come to know people, I just kind of maintain that connection. And there was no expectation in that relationship. So I have all my relationships have been done when I didn't have any expectation. So I would always recommend people that if you like something or some person, just be in touch with them without any expectation. How it comes to you in terms of usage is very different. And all my relationships I've invested when I never required them. That's the best part. And I guess, both of us, from 94, 95, and then we again reconnected in 2008. And it just went on. And it just happened like that. And I think that is what it is. And I've always, we belong to a time when there was no internet, digital media. So whenever I felt like I had to meet a person, I made it a point that I didn't meet that person at anything. It could have been, the author of a book which I liked or somebody whom I wanted to meet. It just happened, and I'm in touch with it.
No, this is great advice. And I think people should learn from you the value of connecting when you don't need something. Build your network when you don't need them. so that then they're there when you need them, is what I say all the time. And
no
no expectations. Yeah. And I've seen this also with people who build businesses and everything else, just do what you believe in, and then, everything will come from that. Since you mentioned books, we're going to do something that we haven't done on the show today before. We're going to walk over to my bookshelf, because you have an amazing bookshelf in your home. Tell us about that. I wish we had a photo of that, because it's really something. Tell us about that.
So I can ask my wife to send a few pictures.
Yeah, okay. So come on here, and so we'll just look at my bookshelf, which is nothing compared to yours. We got rid of so many books. So the ones I kept are the books where our friends have written it, or I'm quoted in it, or I was involved in it, or I've interviewed them. So that's the only books I've kept. But you've got an amazing collection of books.
Yeah, Sri, you're lucky to, you are a journalism guy, so you've been quoted, you have done this, so it's very interesting. But I'm sure you must have had a lot more books.
We had lots of shelves that
That's
we
right.
got rid of.
I had been giving out a few books, but my wife still thinks that I need to give out even more books. So I don't know when I do that. That's nice, but a lot of interesting things, books which you have. Probably the ones which I would, of course, the books on Gandhi.
Yeah.
By Richard Attenborough.
Yeah.
That was a very important thing.
Look at this unusual book here, by the way. Look at this unusual book.
Yes,
this was our friend Chiddu, who we all started in journalism together.
Yeah,
He's in DC, and this is his book that he wrote. And look at this photograph, incredible picture of Shamala Gopalan Harris and Kamala Devi Harris. To think that the Vice President of the United States has that name itself is so unusual.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just mentioning to a friend of mine yesterday over dinner that she's a third woman, and we hope it comes true after Victoria Woodhull and Chelsea Clinton. Mm-hmm. Somebody running for the post of the president.
Hillary.
Sorry, Hillary Clinton, not Chelsea Clinton.
Yeah. By the way, just speaking of books, I'll just say this about Abraham Varghese, who has been a great friend and such a huge success in the world of books. He once told me that he is not going to do book tours because people don't engage with books that way. It's more digital. But then this book went on to be on the New York Times bestseller list for 4-5 years. And then his new book, Covenant of Water, has been even more successful. And it's cool. By the way, you can see many people who've been on the New York Times read along with me, including Adam Nagarni, and several other books are here as well. I see Mei Fong has been on the show with us, and so lots of great people. And if you haven't read,
I haven't read Kalpan.
Yeah, Kalpan is great. And then you remember this wonderful actor in India, Irfan Khan, and our friend Asim Chabra wrote this. And Irfan Khan was also the name of a great Indian PR person who was a dear friend. Irfan was involved with Coca-Cola and Unilever, what they call Hindustan Lever for many. It's a different man, but this actor is amazing.
That's right.
And he was in Slumdog Millionaire, as you remember, as the very strict, almost cruel police officer. And the book, I'm going to ask Neil to put on the screenshots from a show we hosted yesterday.
Tomar also very beautiful.
Oh, yeah. He's done so many great books. But I'm going to ask him to put the Asima card up from yesterday. I had the honor of being the moderator and host of Empowering Change, Asima's Journey Transforming Lives. This is a educational nonprofit in Mumbai that has done incredible work. And Dilbar Parak, who is the founder of it, has written a book. And so we were talking about that book on the air, and this was that's Dilbar in the red sari that you can see.
Yes.
And you can these are some of the people who she worked with. The woman on the right is a fascinating story. On the bottom, she started as a student and now is a teacher there. And as a student, she used to be the first to arrive, the last to leave, and now she's a teacher. Mamta ma'am is what they call her. And so everyone, if you can get this book, Asima's, the book, Dilbar Parak's book about Asima, and this was one of the comments we brought in, the beautiful stories made possible by an amazing organization. Asima is truly a force for change. And this is the book. I have a copy of the book right here. Everyone can get it. It's called Asima, A Journey Beyond Borders. So, so this is how I'm going to tie this all together, if you can believe it. You'll see a comment here by Danny Boyle. It says it deserves to be widely read because the young actors in Slumdog Millionaire some of them came from this program, and so he's kept in touch with them. He's supported them, and he sent a video for our show yesterday. It was a beautiful video, and you'll also see a comment here from Priyanka Chopra Jonas, who just before we went on the air said to her 55 million followers on Facebook, 20 million followers on other channels, you must buy this book and you must support Dilbar Parakh. So that was pretty amazing. So check out Asima. And now I think we're ready to go to the New York Times and read the New York Times together. There is so much going on in the news, of course. So what I do normally, Rajesh, is just kind of flip through the paper and you jump in if you have anything you want to add.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of go through this.
So the first one is so important. As teens, I've always been reading about the issues in Lebanon, mid 80s. Lebanon was always talked, even before the Gulf War and everything, except for the Iran-Iraq. Everything about Lebanon was the thing. So it's one country, it's always amazed me because it's, very interesting, which I have to visit and have not been able to do so.
A developed country that compared to many of its neighbors, very developed, very sophisticated, culturally,
strong,
internationally,
enterprising
business, all of that. Yeah.
So, and it's really sad that what happens in Lebanon. So I still remember as a student, when we had to do the news reading in the morning, Lebanon used to be there regularly, and it's sad. It's almost close to 40 years.
Yeah, and it's still the case. Still the same. Let's look at this. Praying in the Mews of Mar Charbel Church in Anaya, a Maronite Christian village in the mountains north of Beirut in Lebanon. So that's the story here. Campaigns seek any edge to
sway a toss-up election. Yeah, it had to be, with Kamala Harris and Trump going around. Now, it's interesting that, Sri, I don't know when you started Saja, you never ever thought that we will get there, South Asians or Indians. But, thanks to a lot of the journalists of your fraternity that have given this. I remember back in 95, 96, you need to have probably weekly once there was an article or two on India.
Yeah.
And so, the South Asians, Saja has done a lot of good work.
Oh, thank you. Well, we're thrilled, and it's 30 years now of Saja, which is amazing. Nuclear plans divide villages on Polish coast. Now, you're in the infrastructure world, in power. What is India's attitude towards nuclear energy right now? Are there a lot of nuclear plants? Can you talk about that? Is there an increase? I know Fukushima and the crisis there got people worried about.
So this is one area which government was planning to always try and see if they wanted private sector, like you have big companies here, but they've not been able to do so due to security issues. Mm-hmm. So primarily it's owned by government. The last plan which came in Tamil Nadu was a lot of controversy. So they haven't really moved ahead on nuclear power. But the entire energy sector now in India is more about green.
So nuclear is not green in that sense?
It is green, but there's always been this environmental pressure, then other challenges. And in India, which is densely populated, the ecosystem, it isn't been so easy, I would say.
Mm-hmm. So we're just going to flip through the paper. You jump in anytime you like. I'll just look here 1 second just to see. From the sidelines, joy and strength on display. Dozens of women who fled Myanmar for Thailand have found refuge in soccer. In the Thai city of Mascot, a new soccer league has emerged. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Sports is a very, very powerful way of people to get out of their, poverty or, whatever the trauma they face. It's been very interesting. And playing sport is great, I would say.
We're talking about going outdoors. What about the story about the moose of parts of Canada, Newfoundland?
Yeah.
2023, there are 24 accidents, 4 accidents this year. And the moose rarely survive when they have it. And look at the damage a moose can do to a car. And of course, a moose won't survive.
But to be fair to them, we went into their area.
Yes, absolutely. That I completely agree.
So again,
lots of happening. Israel and Lebanon. Iran has many sensitive sites Israel could hit in retaliation. As an ad for Alzheimer's. So there's a lot of awareness here now of Alzheimer's. What is the story in India with Alzheimer's that you know?
It's coming up very big now. The graying of population is just begun, and Alzheimer's is something which is there. This is one interesting Singapore minister. It's one of the country which it's a very interesting democracy. I don't know if you're aware. The prime minister's salary is always the same as that of the leading CEO in Singapore, so that people cannot corrupt the politicians. So here is the question of a Singapore minister. It's very interesting. The for accepting tickets for Formula One and things like that, he's being jailed on things like that. So it's so strict in terms of what you can do and what you cannot do in Singapore. Very interesting.
Yeah. So one thing I'll just point out, I was in Singapore last year teaching some of my AI workshops, and it's a place of multicultural, multi-ethnicities, and there are people who are of Indian origin there as well, Chinese origin, of course, and Malay, all mixed together. Yeah, Tamilians are there as well. So let's talk about music for a moment. I guess Coldplay has a new album.
No. Do you realize they're coming to India? They're performing 3 shows. Just a week ago, they opened the tickets for purchase. People's waiting list number was 1,900,000. They had to wait, and suddenly they got a thing saying that no, you didn't get it. So there's going to be a very big challenge in terms of tickets on this.
Yeah. So So what kind of music do you like?
Yeah, so I'm still a fan of 80s, 90s. I really don't listen to the current ones, but yeah, I do listen to the local music and.
You mean local Indian music also?
Indian music,
So you
yeah,
like
Western classical.
Do you like Bollywood music, old Hindi songs?
No, I have. It's interesting the way I grew. I follow Tamil songs, Malayalam, Telugu, Kannada, Hindi, everything.
So one thing let me say about Coldplay is that whenever I go to London, I think of their song about where they have this line that I used to rule the world. Seas would part when I said the word, and now so the England feels like that, that they used to rule the world and they're not there anymore. Here's a letter to presidential candidates saying to support higher education, of course. Yeah. Have you been to Morocco? Here's an ad for Morocco.
Yeah, that's one item on the list.
Okay. Indications: an explorer was cannibalized. What is it, in 1845? Ukraine story.
Ukraine's again the same story.
Rwanda. The autocratic leader of Tunisia is poised to romp to an election victory. I've always wondered what these politicians who get 95%, these authoritarian guys, 95% of the vote.
So, Sri, what's your view on democracy, Sri?
I'm really worried. That's why part of the reason we do the show is to talk about the value of news, accurate information, etc. Still searching and holding out for hope. There's a tragedy that has taken place in North Carolina and Georgia and Florida. And I was in North Carolina, but in a part that was not affected. Just last weekend, when the hurricane was, I was landing, and the plane circled for an hour, but we didn't realize look at the devastation. Just look at this. Just really, really sad. That's in Tennessee that you're saying. A big business on Alan Adams, and overlooked his issues. This is about the mayor of New York. In this vote, the issues are weighty and fishy. Fishy. Let's keep going. We'll jump around to different sections in just a moment.
Civil rights inquiries for campus protests.
Yeah. Let's see what else. We'll go to did you get to the obituaries? I love reading obituaries. It's a little morbid, but we like reading obituaries on the show.
Yes.
And let's see here. This is Clarice Rivers, who inspired the work of 2 Hours, is dead at 88.
Yeah, the obituary columns are very good. This is something which I thoroughly enjoy in most of the newspapers abroad.
How does India do obituaries?
Yeah, it's very few newspapers do it. Invariably, it's about a person who has been in limelight in the cinema industry or the politics or sports. But obituaries here are even more democratic. It can be for the main engineer who set up something, or the firefighter who is not there. This is we all.
You remember Beverly Hills Cop?
Yes, we can. Eddie Murphy, John Ashton.
So So this is a journalist thing. I would have used. So this is him in the later movies.
That's right.
And so he's not as you can see he looks very gaunt. He's much older.
Yeah.
In the original movie, he was much rounder, younger. It's the same hairline, but so I think when you have 2 photographs, at least one of them should be the original, most famous photograph. One is most noted for by running the same, basically from the same movie or from the same instead of it's over a 30-year period, so they should have run one from each, is what I would say.
On obituary column, I would like to add, when I was in UK, I first came to know about this, that when you're alive, they come and talk to you, they interview and tell that you're going to die. So that's the first thing, and so they update it. So, the photograph would have been probably when the journalists met him and took it up.
Yeah, I mean, they don't
would have-
interview everyone, of course, but also this could have been just
but,
from
but
the
in UK, it's compulsory that they've interviewed most of the people when they were alive.
right.
And but probably if something happens, I mean, you have people who are not accessible also.
No, exactly. Or you don't realize that they are interesting stories, and that's why there's there's this book and a series in the New York Times called Overlooked. And our friend Amy Padnani, who's been on the show twice,
Okay.
she talked about the value of doing stories about people who are not famous, and she did a really good job on that. So, what's your take on global soccer?
Yeah, soccer is big, and it's the biggest sport, and it's coming. In America also is becoming big.
Yeah. So, folks, that's Rajesh Vetcha. I'm Sri Srinivasan. This is the New York Times Read Along. We are together reading the New York Times. And I want to tell you about our guest next week because we have another great guest. We're going to show you that our guest who is joining us is Subodh Chandra, who's a lawyer in Ohio, and he was the person who filed the lawsuit against Trump and Vance on behalf of the Haitian immigrant community in Springfield, Ohio. And you all know the story of Trump lying, Vance lying about them eating the cats and dogs of the people of Ohio. And so I'm so glad. Please join us. That's next Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Please share the show right now with your friends and family around the world. They can join us. I would love for them to know about what's happening right now on this show. Because I've been so busy and occupied with our friend Rajesh, I have not had a chance to read you some of the comments. I'm sure Neil's been putting some of the comments up. Sudha had talked about great information about books and authors. And Ken Fisher says, no expectations, love it. By example, unselfishness and magnanimity is really important. Thank you. This was when Rajesh was talking about the importance of your network and connecting. And so that I think that's beautiful. Mary C. Curtis is watching from North Carolina. It's been a tragedy that disinformation and political maneuvering are hampering recovery efforts in North Carolina. Trump has done real damage to people who are already damaged by the hurricane. So please pass that on. Please let people know that if you have people in North Carolina. John Lee says, great story on page 1 about the gay couple who saved an English rugby league in an old mill town in England. Thank you, John, for pointing that out. John's a great friend. And Ken Fisher says that a fun, snappy pace reading the paper today. So fun. So this is a compliment to you, Rajesh, that we're reading it in a different way, more snappy, it seems. So I think less pondering is important. And Naomi, who's watching from the Upper West Side, says Central Park was my sanctuary during lockdown, still is. Tell me about your interest in Central Park. Why did you go running there? What does it mean to run through Central Park for you?
Oh, see, luckily I grew up, in a time when we didn't have television, a bit of radio, so it was all outdoors. So parks mean a lot to me from in every place I have grown up. So the evenings were spent in parks, playing, seeing, probably just jumping on the monkey ladder and things like that. And it just happened that the love for parks increased with my idea of outdoor activity and things like that. And every time I come to places in India, you do have a lot of parks, but I would say the park culture in America, probably Europe, is amazing. And Central Park is a very, very big fashion. I wouldn't just call it as a park. It's a place like, how we have a congregation which we have for a Kumbh Mela or a temple. Sometimes Central Park can be a temple for people. It can be a place for coming and doing things. It gives them, soul searching. And the best part is it's good for everybody, a cyclist, a child, a runner, a family. It caters to everybody. That's so beautiful. So every time I come to East Coast, even if I'm on a transit, I make it a point to run in Central Park.
Wow.
So that's the beauty of it. I'm sure there are better parks, but nothing like Central Park.
There's no better park. And it's 800 acres of the most valuable, expensive real estate in the world.
No. I would say that it's because of Central Park, the real estate around is expensive. It's not.
Okay.
Without Central Park, this area would have been a dump.
Oh my God.
Manhattan wouldn't have been what Manhattan is.
Okay.
Folks,
if
you have the Hyde Park. Boaz the Boulogne in Paris. I mean, they're simply fabulous.
Sure. If you're wondering why Rajesh and I are wearing the same shirt, this is the marathon, or the Hyderabad Marathon, NMDC Hyderabad Marathon that he helped found. And he brought me in to do a workshop for them on social media for runners and sports, which is something that I've been obsessed about a long time. I worked with multiple teams on social media for them. And so this is one of the things that we talked about. And so he brought this shirt. So thank you for that. And thank you for your comment, Naomi. And Ken had said we're having a fun, snappy pace today. So that's because you're a runner. And we have only about 20 minutes left with our friend, and we have only got to the second section. So we're going to flip through things a little more. Some of you know Will Arnett, the actor. Will a podcast be their biggest role? Sean Hayes, you remember the two of them were in I think they were in one of the big shows here in the Saving Grace. I'm forgetting the name. Somebody will tell me which one they were.
Something I've been following. Very interesting.
That's Jason Bateman. Look at him. You may not even recognize him.
Yeah, I know. Something which I've been following, and it'll be interesting to see how it comes. America, end of the day, is, I mean, whatever I just is the mecca of capitalism. So ideas, they just work out well. It's interesting, you have an Indian journalist coming.
Yes,
Papu. That's very nice. Yeah. And this is something very interesting, or I don't know if writers do that, and they say that that time it was relevant that time, and now it might not. But to take up the thing to say that my idea is not serious is very interesting. You've been an influencer, and then suddenly you're trying to pull out is very interesting. I don't know, but the first time I came across something that was...
This is about Malcolm Gladwell and his book, and he now says he does not shy away from admitting he can be wrong. Yeah, but I'll tell you, he was wrong, and I did a TEDx talk that was actually built around him being wrong when he talked about social media is not important, not useful, cannot build revolutions, and then soon after, Tahrir Square happened, Tunisia happened, all of that. And so I went out of my way because I want to see in his book if he admits to this, but Malcolm Gladwell was wrong because he was not in social media. He was not on any social media platform, and he just pronounced how bad social media was. And so our lesson for anybody is that
be open.
Participate. It's like being a film critic and not watching great films. You don't have to only watch great films, but you have to participate. You cannot be a food critic who doesn't go to restaurants, right? You can't just see the pictures and say, I don't think that's a good restaurant. We go and eat and participate. So, by the way, that reminds me, shout out to our friend Vikas Khanna, whose restaurant Bungalow just made the 50 best restaurants in the US list. And guess what? How it all comes together. Rajesh was at dinner there yesterday, and
thanks for giving me the opportunity to go there.
No, but tell me, how was it? And you met Vikas also?
Yes, I met him briefly, and actually gave some interesting book which he was not aware on Indian food.
That's
great. It was interesting.
Yeah.
So this is something which you need to put in the context of India. The idea of redefining abundance by economic growth has exceeded. So the focus on a trillion dollar economy, I think it should step back. It's going to be very difficult,
So India is trying to is already $1 trillion.
It's already trillion. They want to be a 6 trillion, 7 trillion, whatever, 5 trillion. So it's the thing.
And people will correct me. Their fans will correct me to say what show they were all in. I've forgotten. Arrested Development was what they were in, and Will and Grace. So that's what I was trying to remember. Will and Grace, and let's see here. 30 days until the election. Oh my God. Here's what you need to know, what they are on the issues. Craft your own path to 270. When to cast your ballot. The closest house contest. Yeah, Neil, go ahead.
I'm jumping on. Can you read at the top? Is that a special section?
It is a special section. Yeah. So normally we get an alert about the special sections and we're able to highlight it properly, but we didn't get a chance to do that.
Regulations.
But more
currently the area of work which you're looking at. Climate
renewal. You're very interested in this, so you can take this with you. So Neil, go ahead.
I was going to say, more importantly, I'm going to double check. I didn't see that in my edition of the paper. So
we need that in near Washington. You should definitely have gotten that.
Yeah.
Challenge of democracy.
Yeah. Neil, if there are any comments I missed, please feel free to jump in and read them out.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I would say John Lee is also watching on Twitter. He's particularly interested in aviation in India. If we can spend some time on that.
Okay, well, just very quickly. We don't have a lot of time, but
it's interesting. So the percentage reach of people who have flown in India for a 1.4 billion population is just roughly around 3%. They have traveled by aviation, by flights. So that's still the gap which is there.
An opportunity.
Opportunity, and I would say gap. But, if you look at it, while there's a lot of scope and it's there, it's expensive, very heavily, I would say, they deregulated the space, not knowing how to deregulate the space. So it's a big challenge. So we are in the top 5 growing markets in terms of aviation. And it'll be interesting to see how we are going to evolve in the next few years with appropriate regulations, appropriate, government measures for it. And we do have a lot. It's one interesting fact. In the last 30 years, we've had 28 airlines which have gone bust. So it's because there are no proper legal frameworks, no proper financing models, no proper regulatory challenges. So that's what it is. But it's also important that for a country like India, you need to get the balance out with your other forms of transport like trains, buses, highways.
And trains are the biggest train system in the world.
Trains, yes, that's one of the biggest. Is there. Interesting. Recently in Europe, in France, they're bringing a law that any flights below half an hour, they want to remove it. They want to get them back to travel by trains or buses because of air congestion, pollution. So now the entire thing of sustainability. So what we should be doing in aviation in India is learn from the mistakes, what has happened in the West, and not repeat them. Try, otherwise you kind of have challenges.
And just a quick follow-up, Rajesh, and I can't remember, Sri, you might remember, I think we had a previous guest talk about this. Can you talk about the growth of the infrastructure in India in terms of number of airports, the capacity, you're talking about, sure, a small percentage of population has actually been on an airplane, but over the last 20 years, hasn't there been an explosive growth in the industry?
When you look at a base which was like, hardly anything, it's like this. You just start something new. The first 5 years, you're going to be experiencing 50% growth, 100% growth. So that's been the same for aviation, I would say, in the last 20 years. Because post-liberalization, the business travel increased, but now it's more about personal travel, holiday travel, which has been increasing. The disposable incomes. There's been a revenge thing in terms of revenge travel, especially after pandemic. And so people are going out traveling.
So is it so it's kind of revenge on the pandemic because they were locked in, now they want to get out and travel.
And probably they had money and they're doing. And another interesting thing is the excessive focus on religious tourism in India.
Mm-hmm.
And now every place in India, recently what they did in Ayodhya and all, they've set up an airport. So everybody wants to go to all the religious places.
Which would have been more difficult by train and all of that. Now they want to go by airport.
Originally, any religious place, it was difficult to access. But now it's becoming easy.
That's great. Thank you. Let's keep going. The Sunday Opinion cover is the only patriotic choice for America. This is the editorial board of the New York Times. So this is basically an unsigned editorial.
It's one interesting thing in elections is, how newspapers come out and support a candidate openly. You can never do that in India.
Yeah.
The newspaper will be closed.
And here what they've done is the patriotic choice for president. This is so interesting how they've laid this out. This is the unsigned editorial. And then Trump's testimonials, the case against him from his own people. So these are people who worked for him, who have either departed from him completely, broken from him.
During the entire COVID.
When he was working with him, yeah. And Jim Mattis was a retired 4-star general. Mick Mulvaney, who was his acting chief of staff. So all of these people are now come out. And McMaster was the national security advisor. And he says, Putin, a ruthless former KGB operator, played to Trump's ego and insecurities with flattery. This is what he wrote. And so just a very interesting, this keeps going. These are all people who used to work with him or were inside. Dick Cheney, of course, all of these people who have said, some of them are still supporting him, but what they've said against him, saying he's fully unfit to be president.
So the media is really independent here.
And this is the Nick Kristof column is Biden sought peace
but facilitated war.
Yeah, Netanyahu ran rings around the American president and we're all lesser for it. And what the world must know about Iran. And Gaza schools have become shelters. Classrooms should be places for children to learn, not escape death. And 15 Trump's 15 swing state voters on Harrison.
Trump.
And what was something you would ask Kamala Harris about? The Trump tax cuts, guardrails for AI, her tipping point
in Israel, stance and company.
So climate change. Let's go here. This is the Sunday Style section, where anybody can take a swing of the Brooklyn Open, a public course tournament that breaks the country club mold, is opening up golf culture. So there are lots of golf courses in India. I've seen even in Trivandrum, the capital of Kerala, there's a nice 9-hole golf course. Have you ever played golf?
Hardly.
Okay. So in India, where is the business networking happen? Is it at not at golf courses? So where does it happen?
Over politics, cinema, and cricket.
Okay, cinema and cricket. But one of the reasons that corporations sponsor the big Indian cricket teams is so that they can connect with each other and their business partners and all of
IPL
them.
is very big. People come and connect over there. Very big.
Okay, so you may not even know about this section, but there's a section here where they this is our friend Sarah Khan, Sarah Khan, who was on our show. She wrote this piece, and this is Giselle Tank with designer Sabyasachi Mukherjee, called the Chanel of India during the party. And Sarah Khan is a great travel writer and more, who has written this. And she's been a guest on the show. So there's a column here called Social Cues. It's an etiquette column. And so what I'm going to do is take this newspaper from you, and I'm going to put you on the spot. You're a parent. I haven't read this, and you haven't read this either. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's a etiquette question. So you know the term helicopter parents, right? Where I understand there's a new term, lighthouse parents. So instead of being a helicopter, be a lighthouse, show them the dangers. And so my 29-year-old son has been dating his girlfriend for 3 years. She must be wondering when they'll move in together and get engaged. My son is not sure that she's the one, but he hasn't told her that. His reluctance to take her relationship to the next level is an indication, of course, but apparently his girlfriend does not see this as a red flag. I assume that's because she thinks things will change. I'm very concerned for her. She's 30 and wants marriage and children. I've told my son he should end the relationship if he cares about her. Still, it continues. My husband says that I should stay out of this, but I'm wondering if I should push harder for my son to end things. Your thoughts. And this is a mother writing about her son's problems to the New York Times. So what would you now? Your kids are at a different age. So this is also
25.
Okay, but so let's keep your daughter out of this and my daughter out of this. But what would your advice be if someone asked you this?
One thing, the current generation, I would just leave it to them in terms of what if they come and ask you for help, it's better we just kind of support them in that. Proactive help, I don't know if they require. And if something goes wrong, he'll come back and tell that, listen, see, I listened to you and this is what happened.
Backfires.
Yes. So I think if he's 29, I just think that, he should be taking his own call. But if he requires help, parents are there. But he needs to make his choice.
All right. So now let's see what the expert, Philip Gallant, remember, there's no wrong answer, so don't worry. So he says, I know you want to help. You seem to have convinced yourself, in the absence of any request for advice and assistance, that intervening in your son's relationship is required for his girlfriend's long-term happiness. But no one has even whispered that she's dissatisfied. To me, it looks like late-stage helicopter parenting. So you are absolutely right. You win a prize. I don't know what the prize is, but that reminds me, Neil, we need to get Philip Gallant on the show at some point. So we're almost out of time. So we're going to just quickly look at a couple of more sections. This is a brand I've been seeing. They do all kinds of cosmetics and things like that, but I don't know why. This is an apothecary brand. Okay, I didn't know that. That's a word I learned in Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, an apothecary plays an important role in Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
And then Metropolitan, the next transformation, reclaiming space from cars. So talk about that. What's happening in India? In New York, more than 200 miles of car parking was removed for bicycles and things like that.
So yeah, we are now copying what America did. We just excessive all the planning is happening around cars, the roads, entire thing. But still 74% of India's population goes to work by public transport, non-motorized transport, and by walk. And when I say here the workforce, it includes the maid servant, it includes the economically weaker sections. And the government's focus on public transportation and is it needs to be done. Otherwise, it's going to be too expensive for us. First America has spent a lot of money on car infrastructure, and now they're reversing it. So both you make money, then you make money now also.
That's so interesting. By the way, I'm drinking. Neil's going to show my Muckrack mug. They're our sponsor. I'm drinking. I'm drinking from my Muckrack mug. But when you came in, having just run in Central Park, I said I'm going to give you some cold water, and you said no, I want boiling or hot water. Why is that, and why do you drink such hot water?
Interesting. So as a child, when I went to the boarding school in the hill station, I used to have a lot of issues with cough and cold, and then I was recommended hot water. And then it just became a way of life. And I don't know if you're aware, in Nilgiris, there's an order of the district which states that people have to be given hot water. You only when if they ask for cold water you're given. Otherwise, in every public place you're given hot water in Nilgiris. It's a district order.
And that's because it's cold there, but not all the time. It's not cold.
It's not just the cold. It's also about the chance of a public health issue in terms of drinking hot water made better. So in all the hotels and everything, you're first offered hot water. I don't know if you're aware.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not aware.
So, among the many laws in India, you also have district laws, and the call is taken by the collector.
Yeah, the district collector is the bureaucrat who is in charge of the district level. So we're going to just look at a couple more things, and then we're going to start winding up. This is the New York Times Magazine. The cover is, could he lock them up? These are the people who he has identified as his enemies over time. James Comey, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Jack Smith, John Podesta. Could these people be locked up? Joe Scarborough, a journalist, Bill Clinton, Marco Rubio, John Bolton, who was his national security advisor. All of these people, could they be locked up? So this is the New York Times Magazine. And then the book review, Making an Impression. There are books celebrating Claude Monet and the artists who created a new way to see the world. And the Monets at the Met were among my favorite pieces of art when I was working there. The privilege to be 3 years the chief digital officer of the Met. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to.
Sri, one question.
Well, yeah, sure.
So these still people deliver newspapers. Have you to go buy them?
No. So the amazing part is during the pandemic, every morning by 4:30 a.m., I would hear a thud outside my apartment. They were the only deliveries allowed to come into our building. It was all food, everything had to be delivered downstairs because there was nobody awake at 4 in the morning. So they would come in and they would drop the paper. And I still get the paper in the building I live in now, which is a different place than we used to live in before. And we used to say on the show, Neil will remember this, I would keep saying, we have to thank all our frontline workers, including newspaper delivery people. And they did it all through the pandemic. They were delivering. So I'm grateful to everyone who does that even now. And Rajesh, in New York, what happens is the Sunday newspaper is so thick that half comes on Saturday. All the
additional pages.
The extra stuff like the magazine and all that come on Saturday, and it takes 2 days to read it. And what this show has done is changed my habits, because I used to read half the paper on Saturday to myself, obviously, and then half on Sunday. But because of the show, one of the conceits of it is that I'm reading it afresh with our audience. So I don't touch the paper on Saturday, it sits there, and I doom scroll too much. All right, we're almost out of time. So here's what we're going to we're going to come back to you. So we're going to give Rajesh a moment to just relax, and then we're going to come back to him and ask him some advice on people who want to be more active, and also anything he'd like to share or ask of me. We'll come back to him. So let's now just tell you, let's have Neil come back and reflect a little bit on the show, and then we will go in and look at some of the shows coming up and other things. Neil, come on back, and let me turn off my camera, which I've done.
I was going to mention that, and I also want to. You'll also want to show the tweet. You were talking about getting the paper on the floor. You've tweeted about this several times, not just during the day, but 4:35 a.m. on Christmas Day. you still get the delivery
It's
of
3
the paper.
degrees, it's 3 degrees centigrade, 37 degrees Fahrenheit, and people are still doing their job. So shout out to all the folks who keep this city and all cities in the world running despite everything that's happening. By the way, Jonathan says, not often mentioned that in parking garages are closing, the land being sold for real estate development, doubling the problem. So more cars out on the street that they need to be there. And as a non-car person, I've become a cyclist in New York. As Neil knows, I got a city bike membership. I cycle everywhere. But I can see car owners being upset about losing those 200 miles of bike lanes have lost, means that much parking is gone. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Let's tell you what's coming up. We have a great show coming up next week as well with Subodh Chandra. And this is just in time for the election. Subodh is a terrific lawyer. He's the one who is filing a lawsuit against Trump and Vance on behalf of the Haitian immigrant community in Springfield, Ohio, who are legally here. They're documented immigrants, and they're here, and the lies that have been spread by the Trump administration. So thank you, Subodh, for joining us. 8:30 a.m. Sunday. We are really excited for that show. By the way, Jonathan says, I'm just going to pull this up, bike lanes have increased danger to pedestrian traffic. That is true. And electrified bicycles, like electric bicycles, are bigger, stronger, take more mass, take longer to brake, and when they hit you, they hurt more. So that's one of the dangers of this kind of bike movement, is this more bicycles everywhere, and people don't wear helmets. So it's all a problem. But better than having just an unlimited number of cars. I think I would say. He's also talking about skateboards, unicycles, e-bikes. Yes, there is such a thing as e-unicycles. We want to thank our friends at Muckrack for supporting us. This is the show that they've been sponsoring for so many years. We work with them every day to do our comms work. And if you're a journalist, sign up for Muckrack Global. It's free if you're a journalist for your own verified profile. We also want to tell you a little bit more about Digimentors. That's the company that we run. We make podcasts and virtual shows like this, but we do AI consulting, workshops, policy, strategy, scenario planning, and event amplification. You have a gala, you have something that you want to promote, come to us and we'll help you blow that up and make it bigger. That's something that we're very proud to do, and we have learned so much doing that. We also want to tell you about Neil's great and important show about mental health. As Rajesh will tell you, not enough men in India talk about mental health. Anybody in India, not enough. That's changing slowly. But here's Neil's twice a month show with Dawn. They were interviewing Claire about the highs and lows of managing bipolar. Please email Neil at digimentors.group if you want to get an alert when that show is on, as well as when, and his next show, as you can see, is with Stephen. There is the ED of, he's with United Way of Northwest Vermont's Mental Health Initiative. Such an important show.
October 17th. Sorry for the typo on the card, but October 17th.
Nice.
We'll be talking with Stephen Berbecco. And I'm thrilled. There's a United Way connection. Dawn and I both met when I worked at United Way. Steve leads the mental health initiative for a local United Way in Vermont. Steve and I also know each other both from high school and college. So it's going to be a great reunion. That show, October 17th, is when we're going to air that.
Terrific. I want to remind everyone about my Substack, my newsletter, which comes out mostly on Sundays, srinet.substack.com. Please sign up. I gave you a preview of what we're going to be doing this week, lessons from my helping run the Nobel Peace Conference, JLF North Carolina, as well as the Chief AI Officer Summit. These are all three projects that Neil and I and my Digimentors team have worked on, and it's the honor of a lifetime to work with our brands, big and small, that we get to work with. And there's the newsletter. You're actually seeing the back end of the draft comments of what that looks like. So you're seeing how it's constructed. That's the here's the headline, and you can see I can insert the image, all of that. So many of you may not have seen what a back end of a Substack newsletter looks like, but that's what that is. And I also want to tell you that SAJA is coming up, and that's the South Asian Journalists Association 30th anniversary is coming up October 11th and 12th in New York. with fabulous journalists, 30 years, 3 decades of changing media by South Asians. So Friday night, all day Saturday, Saturday night gala. You want to sign up. You don't have to be South Asian or a journalist to attend. So please support us and come out and check this out. If you know anyone who's interested in how the media is changing, they should be at this conference. Saja.org. Please check that out. And then finally, want to tell you that Neil is working on South Asian Stand Up for Kamala. Look at some of these names: Kumail Nanjiani, Padma Lakshmi, Maulik Pancholi, all of these great folks, Abhi Govindan, who I'm a big fan of, are all going to be for a night of laughs and comedy for Kamala. Join South Asians across the comedy world to win in November. So this is coming up on October 15th, 9 p.m. in in the East Coast and 6 p.m. in 6 p.m. in California. It'll be very early in the morning in India. I think Rajesh will be home by then. And to find out more, go to bit.ly/South Asians Laugh 2024. bit.ly/South Asians Laugh 2024, or email me, Neil@digimentors.group or Sri@digimentors.group, and we will send you information. So that's a lot of stuff. Neil, we're just trying to pay the bills around here. So that's what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And after this, I have to go work on my newsletter. So we're going to bring Rajesh back on to share a few final thoughts and remind everyone that Subodh Chandra is our guest next week. You don't want to miss that. And this show will run immediately on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram takes a little bit, but you can watch the entire show. And I'm going to put back on camera our friend Rajesh Vetcha. And Rajesh has been very patient sitting here and listening as we are paying our bills. Rajesh, your final thoughts, and also how does it feel to be on the other side of the camera? You're, as a PR person, comms executive, you're always guiding the interviewee who is your client, and now you're on this side. You're having journalism done to you, which is famously, people don't like it when they're on the other side. So talk about that for a minute.
But for Sri, I wouldn't have done this. I usually don't do this. It's one of those things which I have done, and because of the comfort I have with you, and I know what you do. That's the first thing. Thanks to it. And I would like to, I always told you that I want. There'll be a day I'm afraid of, amongst many things, that I'll not be able to get my morning newspaper.
Even in India, where you get 7 newspapers.
So no, even in India, the newspaper sizes are slowly shrinking, and there are problems in terms of money, and there has been interference also. The industry requires a lot of subsidy in terms of newspaper prints and all that. They have been having their own set of challenges, and I started reading newspapers as a 9-year-old kid, and I'm 54 now, and as long as I'm alive, I would want to get to read my newspaper, feel it and catch it and read it. So it's important. So I thoroughly enjoy what you're doing on this. It's important that, people start reading these for 2 reasons, just not only to support good, accurate news, to get rid of misinformation, disinformation, but also true lies and false truths. That's very important. So newspapers, I think, and New York Times is, like history, because the independence they have, the ability to express, a lot of newspapers which you have. Slowly I realized that the Indian newspapers are facing some kind of challenges in being able to kind of be more open. So that's something very important. It needs to be. I don't know how the new generation are going to take towards news, and somebody like you who uses social media should be able to tell it what it is. One interesting article which you missed out was neighborhood sports, which you just talking about things, right?
That's so tell me, what is that? Sports require an attuned sense of attentiveness to yourself and others. During the rush of competition, we perceive one another in new ways. And this is, I've read about pickleball, which is a new thing. Has pickleball come to India yet?
Yes, it's come. It's not so big, but it's slowly picking up. But pickleball is going to be coming to India.
So, all right. So now let's say goodbye to our audience. Thank you, Rajesh, for a fabulous conversation. I learned a lot. I know our audience did as well. So your thoughts again on why we should get out more, exercise more. You're a marathoner. A lot of people like me who are lazy can get turned off by someone who gives them advice who's already a marathoner. But you are not saying everyone should be running marathons.
Oh no, marathon is an abuse of the body. I just say that, you just need to be active. So there are two interesting things I would just say. One is, if you don't take care of your well-being now, you'll have to take extra time to manage your illness. It's going to be very challenging. And probably the last word I would say is, if you think being fit is tough, try illness.
Oh, nice. That's very well put.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really deep. So,
Sri, I want to bring on some comments just as we
yes,
close.
Please
Jonathan,
go ahead. Please.
Fascinating show as always. Thank you. Patricia Freudenberg, thank you. Special guest and entire production team. Doug Levy, thank you for another interesting show.
He watched 2 hours at 5:30 in the morning in California. That's amazing. Doug, you're very special. And Doug interviewed me for one of his stories just this week about AI. And so thank you, Doug, for doing that as well.
And I think Jonathan's comment is a great place to end. There's always something odd about journalists interviewing journalists. Rajesh, thank you so much.
I agree, but there's our dog Tara, and
Tara.
I can say that I was in India. When I was in India, I was bitten twice by dogs, and I got the 14 shots in my stomach, and so I was very scared of dogs. I fought my wife for 15 years, my daughter for 8 years. They wanted a dog, and you, like many Indians, are a little scared of dogs, partly because in India the dogs are security dogs, street dogs most of the time, right? So when you run in India, in fact, it's a problem because there's so many street dogs.
Yeah, it's a very big challenge. I wouldn't want to say it's because of the animals. It's just that the waste disposal system, the availability of food is what breeds these things. That's the biggest challenge. And then associated with that comes cruelty to animals and all that.
Sure.
So I'm a member of the Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, but I'm afraid of all these things for two reasons. Because I had a very unfortunate episode when my grandmother got attacked by a dog, which was home dog. That was one. The other thing is, yes, it's a challenge.
I was also bitten by both times by home dogs.
Yeah, between human life and animal life, human life is first.
Okay, that's what you say. We are showing Tara's own Instagram page. Neil, if you can go to the top so they can see, it's the address is Tara Beagle NYC. If you blow that up a little bit, Tara Beagle NYC is the address.
Yes.
And so everyone, please follow her. She'll be happy to get more followers. So it's Tara Beagle NYC, and check out her feed. Maybe Neil, you can play that video, the pinned picture right up there. No, not that one. Yeah, right there. If you can play that, we can end on a fun slow motion of the dog. Look how much fun dogs can be. Look at that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Neil is worried because his daughter wants a dog.
Yeah, she's not going to get one.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you so much. It was great having you, Rajesh. And next time, hopefully, I can get a shirt as well, and all three of us can
I
be.
have one for you. I'm giving one to Steve.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.